Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai. So, in the same venue, we have completed the previous chapters, the second chapter, the third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter, and now we are in the seventh chapter. What is the name of the chapter? JñÄNA VIJñÄNA YOGA. The great Mahatmas, they divide the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gītā into 3 portions. And these 3 portions are equated to each terms of Tat Tvam Asi. That you are, which is the Mahāvākya. That Supreme Lord you are. So the first 6 chapters deal with Tvam Pada, the individual. So in the first 6 chapters you will find a lot of techniques to purify the mind. You will find techniques how to live in this world intelligently. You will find techniques of higher meditations, because they are all related to the individual. The Tvam Pada is taken in the first 6 chapters. In the next 6 chapters, that is from 7 to 12, you will find the Tat Pada taken into account. Tat means that. That means God. So you'll find in 7 to 12, these chapters, more of God. What is the nature of God? How to meditate on God? How to invoke the grace of God? These topics are discussed. And the next 6 chapters, that is from 13 to 18, the Asi Pada is taken. Asi means it's an equation. You are that. So that are term. The Jiva and Īshvara, they are one and the same. That equating Jiva with Īshvara is done in the last 6 chapters. So now we are in the 7th chapter. So what should be the topic of this chapter? The topic should be related to God. Tat Pada. This is the first chapter. After 6, the 7th one. The first chapter which deals exhaustively with who that God is. The name of the chapter has come from the term in the 2nd verse of this chapter, where Bhagavan says, Jnānam teham savijñānam idam vakshyāmi asheshataha. So from there, the topic, the title of this chapter has been taken. That part we will come later. So therefore, what is the content of this chapter? In this chapter, Bhagavan is going to describe, number 1, Īshvara Svarūpam. What is the nature of God? The second topic is Īshvara Dhyānam. How to meditate on God. And the third one is Īshvara Krupa. How to invoke grace of God. How to surrender unto God. Īshvara Sharanagatihi. Īshvara Prapattihi. These are the topics which we'll find in this chapter. So with this introduction, let us enter into the chapter. Repeat once. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Saptamo Dhyāyah. Jnana Vijñāna Yoga. Shri Bhagavānu Vāca. Maya Saktamanav Partha. Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah. Asamshayam Samagram Mam. Yathatnyāsyasi tachrunu. Together. Maya Saktamanav Partha. Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah. Asamshayam Samagram Mam. Yathatnyāsyasi tachrunu. Yes. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Blessed Lord said, what did he say? O Arjuna, O Partha, yatha mam jñāsyasi tat shrunu. How to understand me? How to know me? Mam. How to know God? So when Bhagavan is saying me, let us not take him to be as, what is that? Yashoda Nandana, Devaki Putra, or Vasudeva Nandana. No. Here, Sri Krishna has to be taken as the Supreme Lord, the Creator of the world. So what does Bhagavan say? Yatha mam jñāsyasi. Arjuna, there is a way in which you can know me. Tat shrunu, listen to it carefully. There is a way in which you can know me. Asamshayam, without any doubt, you can know God. Very many times people ask, can we know God? Can we experience God? Now here the answer is very clearly given. Asamshayam mam jñāsyasi. You can know God without any doubt. Doubtless knowledge can take place with regard to God. Samagram mam jñāsyasi. You can know him fully. Samagram means completely. So fully, completely, without any doubt, you can realize God, you can experience God. There is a way. Arjuna, listen to this technique, listen to this knowledge. Anyone and everyone can gain, provided you meet these qualifications. What are those qualifications? These qualifications are mentioned in the first line. What are those qualifications? Qualification number 1, Mai Asakta Manaha. Qualification number 2, Yogam Yunjan. Qualification number 3, Mat Ashrayaha. Anyone who fulfills these qualifications, such a person becomes a fit aspirant to know me completely, to realize me. So what are they? Let us take the first term. Mai Asakta Manaha. Manaha, mind. Asakta, fully absorbed, attached, involved. Where? Mai, in me. Mai Asakta Manaha. The one who has his mind fully absorbed in me. Meaning, who loves me, who is attached to me, who consider me as the highest priority in life, who values me, who respects me, who adores me, who reveres me. This is the meaning, Mai Asakta Manaha. Such a person loves God, he values God, he reveres God. This is the first qualification. Meaning what? He deeply wants to know who God is. Whenever you love someone, there is a deep urge in you to know about that person, isn't it? Even from the worldly angle also it is true. The more and more you love a person, the more and more you want to know about that person. So what is the first qualification to know who is God? The first qualification is you must love God. From that love comes deep desire to know. Mai asaktamanaha. And what is the next one? Yogam yunjan. So there is a deep desire to know God because he loves God. And from that desire, there is a deep urge to know. And this urge to know, this deep urge to know forces him to put forth necessary effort. So Yogam Yunjan means readiness to put necessary effort in that direction, in knowing God. The one who is ready to practice yoga. Yogam Yunjan means one who is engaged in yoga. Any effort in trying to know God is called yoga. Trying to unite with the Supreme, trying to unite with the higher in us. Any such technique is called yoga. So one who is ready to put forth the necessary effort. So what is the first qualification? Deep love for God, reverence for God, and therefore a deep urge to know God, who God is. That is number one. Number two, not only that there is a deep urge, there is also the willingness to put forth any amount of effort in trying to know him. This is the second one. And what is the third one? Mat ashrayaha, taking refuge in me. What is this taking refuge in me? Though this person is willing to put forth effort, even that willingness to put forth effort is not combined with arrogance. Meaning, when you put forth effort, when you start seeing results, you never say, because of my effort, I knew him, I realized him. No. This person says, oh God, it is because of your grace that I had this desire to know you. It is because of your grace that I am putting forth effort, and definitely by your grace alone I will come to know you in future. So never arrogating himself. There is no tinge of arrogance, meaning ahankara is not there. Normally this happens with seekers. The more and more they put forth effort, like for example japa or puja or dhyana, the more and more they put forth spirit, they are involved in spiritual practices. Along with success, something else crop up. And what is that? Ahankara, the ego. So this devotee, he is ready to put forth effort. He has that deep urge to know. Even while putting forth effort, he has totally surrendered unto God. He never allows the ego to crop up. Mad ashrayaha, meaning he is not only putting forth effort, he is also invoking the grace of God. To have success in any field, these are the three things necessary. What are the three things? Number one, the intense desire to achieve, to know. Number two, effort. And number three, invoking the grace of God. This is not only true with spirituality, it is true with everything. Any field you take. These are the three things necessary. You want to be a greatest scientist, this is the technique. You want to be a greatest sports person, this is the technique. What is the technique? Number one, intense desire to become that. Number two, readiness to put forth the required amount of effort. And number three, invoking the grace of God. Invoking the grace of God is very much essential, because the equipment with which we put forth effort is not ours, it is given by Him. The interest to put forth effort also is given by Him. The ideas are given by Him, resources are given by Him, the field is given by Him. Therefore, definitely, we must invoke His grace. So these are the three things. Mai asaktamanaha yogam yunjan madashraya. Arjuna, if you want to know me, know the Supreme Lord, definitely you can know. Undoubtedly you will know. Completely you will know. But then these are the qualifications. Intense desire, required amount of effort, and then invoking the grace of God. Now the question is, Bhagavan, why should I want to know you in the first place? Why should I know you? Is it necessary in life? The answer is given in the second verse. Let us chant. Jnānam teham savijñānam idam vakshyamya sheshataha yajñātvā neha bhūyonyata jñātavyamavasishyate. Together. Jnānam teham savijñānam idam vakshyamya sheshataha yajñātvā neha bhūyonyata jñātavyamavasishyate. Arjuna, vakshyami, I will tell you, I will describe the whole thing to you. Asheshataha, totally, completely, without hiding anything from you, without any reservation. Knowledge in totality, I will give it to you. What knowledge? Jnanam te, to you. Aham vakshyami savijñānam. Knowledge along with Vijnana. Jnanam will be given along with Vijnana. Now what is this Jnanam and Vijnanam? Jnana means theoretical knowledge. Vijnana means experiential knowledge. There is one thing called understanding the theory. Intellectual knowledge. Thought-based knowledge. You have understood it. But it's only an intellectual knowledge. Now in spirituality, mere intellectual knowledge is not knowledge. Intellectual knowledge should mature itself into experiential knowledge. I may have knowledge about God, but if it is a mere intellectual knowledge, which you can gain by reading the books, etc., that is of no use. I must have experiential knowledge. What do you mean experiential knowledge? I must experience God, then only I have truly known God. This is the difference between worldly materialistic knowledge and spiritual knowledge. As far as materialistic knowledge is concerned, once you have understood it, it's over there. There is nothing called experiencing it. But whereas spiritual knowledge is concerned, not only that you have to understand it, intellectually appreciate the logic, not only that you must be convinced intellectually, but also this knowledge should seep into your personality, become one with your personality. It should become your experience. This experiential knowledge is what is called as Vijnanam. So what does Bhagavan say? Jnanam savijñānam aham te vakshyami. Arjuna, I will give you this knowledge. I will also tell you how to experience it for yourself. You need not blindly believe. Just because I said you need not blindly believe, I can give you the technique by which you can experience it in your own bosom. Because once you experience it, you will never doubt this knowledge. Once a knowledge has become experiential, once you have experienced it for yourself, you will never doubt it. As long as it is intellectual knowledge, you can always doubt it. That is the beauty of spiritual knowledge. It becomes your knowledge, it becomes your own experiential knowledge. After that, there is no question of doubting it. So Arjuna, I will give you the knowledge, I will also give you the experience. I will give you the experience means what? I will tell you the technique by which you can experience it yourself. It is from this the name, the title of this chapter has come. What is the title of the chapter? JñÄNA VIJñÄNA YOGA. Yoga of knowledge coupled with wisdom. When knowledge becomes experiential, they become wisdom. The very same knowledge is called as wisdom. So when you respond to the world, you normally respond to the world according to the knowledge which you have digested, not which you have understood. There are 3 stages in knowledge. The first stage is Shravanam. When you listen, you gain some knowledge. Shravana Janita Jnanam. That is the first stage. You listen, you have gained some knowledge. But then, though you have knowledge, there are a lot of doubts. It is doubtful knowledge. Then what is the second step? Manana Janita Jnanam. Manana means reflection. Whatever you have listened, whatever information you have gathered, you reflect upon it, you think upon it. And through thinking, you clear all doubts. That's the second stage. What is the second stage? Manana Janita Jnana means knowledge which is doubtless. You are convinced. There are no more questions or doubts. That is the second stage of knowledge. Manana Janita Jnanam. And the third stage is Nididhyāsana Janita Jnanam. The third stage is called Nididhyāsana, where this information which has become conviction in you, this conviction becomes an experience in you. Meaning that knowledge has become totally digested in you. It has become one with you. When the knowledge becomes one with you, whenever you respond to a situation, you respond to that knowledge which has become one with you. You don't respond to the world based on the information. You don't respond to the world based on your conviction. You respond to the world based on your transformation. Through Nididhyāsana, the knowledge becomes transformation in you. Once you are transformed with this knowledge, then only we say the spiritual knowledge has attained its purpose. Till then, the process of gaining knowledge is imperfect. So what does Bhagavan say here? Arjuna, I will give you this knowledge, and this knowledge can become the very experience in you. But Bhagavan, tell me one thing, why should I know it? So the answer given is, Yat Jñātva, having known which, na iha bhuyaha anyata jñātavyam avashishyate. Arjuna, the greatness of this knowledge is, knowing this, there is nothing else to be known. You have known everything. That is the glory of knowledge. Once you know this, there is no need for you to know anything on this world. It will give you total fulfillment, total satisfaction. This is one difference between worldly knowledge and spiritual knowledge. What happens when you gain worldly knowledge? When you gain worldly knowledge, more and more questions come. The more and more you know, the more and more you come to know that there is much more to know. Isn't it? That is the nature of worldly knowledge. All kind of scientific research, if you see, the more and more they try to go deeper into any field, the more and more they come to know that there are more and more things to be known. The more and more knowledge of the world only exposes our ignorance of the world. When Sir Isaac Newton was lying on his deathbed, somebody asked him, Sir, you must be feeling proud that so many mysteries of the universe you have unraveled. You must be indeed feeling proud. What did Isaac Newton say? Instead of feeling proud, I feel that I am a small child picking up seashells on the seashore while the vast ocean lies in front of me undiscovered. This is what he said. Whatever I know, ultimate result is I only know how much more I don't know. This is the nature of worldly knowledge. Nothing gives you total satisfaction. But what about this knowledge? Bhagavan says, if you know this, there is nothing else to be known. It gives you total satisfaction, total fulfillment. Now the question is, what are the things which are worth knowing in this world? Or what are the normal questions which come to anyone's mind? The questions can be classified, categorized into three. They are Jiva, Jagat and Īshvara. These are the only questions which can come in our mind. Questions regarding Jiva, the individual. What are the questions? Where have I come from? Where will I go? What is the purpose of life? How should I spend my time? These are the questions which normally come to any Jiva. Who am I? What is my source? After death, what will happen? Whether other worlds exist or not. These are all the questions regarding Jiva, the individual. The second question is regarding Jagat, the world. What is this world? From where this world has come from? Where will it go? Who has created the world? How did he create the world? When did he create the world? So many questions regarding the world. Then the third question, the third type is related to Īshvara. Who is God? First of all, God exists or not? If at all he is, where is he? How is he? How far is he? These are the questions regarding God. So all our questions can be put into these three. What are they? Jiva, Jagat, Īshvara. And what does Bhagavan say? Arjuna, if you gain this knowledge, JñÄNA nahi abhūyaha anyata jñātavyam avashishyate. Once you gain this knowledge, you will not have questions regarding anything. All your questions regarding Jiva, all your questions regarding Jagat, all your questions regarding Īshvara will come to an end. Meaning, you will get perfect answers to all your questions. You will no more have any doubt. This is the glory of this knowledge. But then Bhagavan says, alas, nobody pays any attention to this knowledge. Let us chant the next one. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Bhagavan says, though this knowledge is so special, but very, very rare few, they try to gain this knowledge. What does Bhagavan say? Manushyanam sahasreshu. Among thousands of men, kaschit, very rare few, yatati siddhaye, they try to gain this knowledge. Among thousands of people, very rare few are interested in this knowledge. Bhagavan Shankaracharya goes one step ahead. He says, it is very, very rare to get a human birth, first of all. It is very difficult to be born as a human being. That is first. Jantuna narajanma durlabham, he says. Just imagine how many living beings are there in this world, and out of those living beings, how many are born as human beings? What is the percentage? You will see the percentage almost amounting into 0. Just in this hand, you will find millions and billions of microorganisms. You have to include everything. So, in one body itself, you will find billions of microorganisms. In this way, so many living beings. Plants included, insects included, animals included, birds included. So many living beings. Out of that, how much percentage has become human beings? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Jantunam narajanma durlabham. Very rare. Fine, you are born as a human being, but among human beings, how many of them try to gain this knowledge? Bhagavan says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit siddhaye yatati. Very, very rare few show interest in this knowledge. And it's a fact. You can just watch this world. How many show interest in this great knowledge, liberating knowledge, ultimate knowledge of spirituality? You have a disco dance here, thousands will gather. A film star comes, millions will gather. Right? But some discourse on Bhagavad Gītā is there. How many? Hardly few. Countables. It's a fact. Why is it so difficult? It is difficult because this knowledge is so high, even to appreciate it needs some amount of evolution, some amount of maturity, some amount of intelligence. Not every Tom, Dick and Harry can appreciate this knowledge. It is so high. And unless you appreciate it, where is the question of putting forth effort to gain it? The law of life says, whatever you really value in life, you will have time for it, you will put forth effort to gain it. What is it? Whatever you value in life, you will put forth effort. Right? Whatever you value, you will put forth effort. Suppose you are not putting forth effort to something. What does it mean? You don't value it. You don't value it because of two reasons. It might be because of any one of these reasons. Either you are not evolved enough to value that, or that thing is not worth valuing. These are the only two possibilities. If you are not valuing something, it means either that thing is so high that you are not able to value it, or that thing is so low that it is worthless. Right? But the law is the same. Whatever you value, you will put forth your heart and soul to gain it. You will put forth effort to gain it. To give a simple example, in this world, you will find 99.99% of the people madly rushing for money. Isn't it? Earning wealth is the highest priority of life for majority of the people in this world. Why is it so? Remember, it is not an accident. It is only because he values money as the greatest goal of life. And why is it that people normally, generally value wealth so much? Because in society you will find a wealthy person appears to have a lot of freedom, a lot of happiness. A person who is wealthy, we tend to think that he is successful. A person who is wealthy, we tend to think he is intelligent. A person who is wealthy, you tend to think he is smart. A person who is wealthy, you tend to think he is comfortable in life. A person who is wealthy, you tend to think that he is very happy. A person who is wealthy, you tend to think he has a lot of freedom, a lot of power, a lot of influence. His words are valued in the society. Correct? A person who is wealthy, he has a good demand in marriage market also. Isn't it? Because of all these reasons, automatically you create a philosophy. The philosophy is, if I want to be really happy in life, money is the one thing to be gained. And once you have made this philosophy, you are helpless. You will find yourself occupying in all such activities which will bring in wealth. Yes or no? Yes. Of course, this philosophy is very superficial, very stupid. Only unintelligent people will come to such conclusion. But the fact is a fact. Whatever you have decided as the final thing which will give you total fulfillment, for that you will work hard. So So therefore you will find in the world, everyone, majority of the people, their mind is totally directed towards earning wealth. But people who are more intelligent, people who are more evolved, people who are more matured, who have the ability to think deeply, such a person will find lot of flaws with wealth, but at the same time they will find lot of what you call possibility to evolve in life. And the greatest possibility opens up when you gain spiritual knowledge. Now we will discuss a little bit on this. How can you say that this knowledge is the highest? Because Bhagavan says, knowing is there is nothing else one need to know. What is the greatness of spiritual knowledge? Why should we strive for it? Because earlier it is said, Mai asaktamanaha. That is one of the qualifications. You must keep this knowledge as the highest. Now the question is, why should I give that much of higher priority to this knowledge? So we will list down some of the benefits of gaining this spiritual knowledge. Benefit number 1, you are totally fulfilled. Total satisfaction, total fulfillment, total happiness, total peace can be gained only with this knowledge. Number 2, questions regarding life will come to an end. Whatever be your questions, all these questions can be answered only and only if you have the spiritual knowledge. This is benefit number 2. Benefit number 3, the person who has this knowledge, he will experience immortality in himself. None of the other worldly knowledge can make you immortal. This knowledge can. It can become your experience that you are immortal. You are not this fleshy, filthy body which is going to die someday. This knowledge can give you the experience of immortality. This is the benefit of this knowledge. This knowledge can give you the experience of infinity. At present we think we are confined to this body. This knowledge can clearly give an experience that you are not confined to this body. It is only the mind which has confined itself to the body. You can go beyond the body and you can experience your true nature, which is infinity. Only this knowledge can give you. Wealth cannot give you. Immortality, wealth cannot give you. Total fulfillment, the wealth cannot give you. Peace of mind, wealth cannot give you. Moreover, the one who has this knowledge, he has total mastery over his mind. A wealthy person will never become a master of his mind. Many times the opposite is true. A wealthy person is a slave of his mind. He is a slave of his world. But this knowledge will give you total mastery over your mind. Total mastery over your senses. It will make you psychologically independent. The peace, happiness, etc. is your nature. You start experiencing that within yourself. Thus, you become psychologically independent. You don't crave for love and respect from others because you have it in full measure within yourself. These are all the benefits of gaining this knowledge. And moreover, you become free from birth-death cycle when this knowledge is gained. There is no more coming back. There is no more punarjanma when you gain this knowledge. These are all the benefits. I can go on and on and on. There is no end. If you have this knowledge, even the greatest tragedies cannot shake you. JñÄNA neha bhuyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. 6th chapter says it. Even the greatest tragedies may come to you, but your mind will be at peace. You will have that inner confidence, inner strength to face challenges in life. This knowledge can give you. Total fulfillment in life, this knowledge alone can give you. Fearlessness with respect to death, this knowledge can give you. Thus, the list goes on and on and on. Wise people analyze this way. If there is such a great knowledge, then definitely I have to gain it. Let me dedicate my life for this knowledge. This is the way the wise people think. So the first step in spirituality is you must have a clear understanding, why am I spiritual? What is that which I am going to get if I gain the spiritual knowledge? Unless you are having that clear picture, you will never put forth effort in order to gain this knowledge. Many people have a very vague and foolish notion about spiritual knowledge. They think that this knowledge is not meant for the people who are living in this world. They are meant for all those renunciates, the escapists who have renounced the world and who are doing something in the caves of the Himalayas. For them this knowledge is meant for. It is not meant for ordinary people who is fighting, who is facing the challenges of life. This knowledge is meant only for the escapists, for the useless fellows who have nothing else to do in life. These are the ideas generally people have in the mind. They don't know the glory of this knowledge. And since they don't know the glory, they don't strive forth also. Bhagavan says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit. Very rare few. They try to gain this knowledge because they think this knowledge is useless. Whatever they want, they don't get. Many times people ask, okay, what is the use of studying Vedanta course? Tell me, what did you get after studying Bhagavad Gītā? At least if I study physics, chemistry, maths, at least I will get a job. I will get some money. I will get some profession. But what will you get after studying Bhagavad Gītā? You don't have any answer. Right? Gross people can appreciate only gross things. In order to appreciate subtle things, your understanding, your maturity also should be so high. So Bhagavan says, among thousands, very rare, few are able to appreciate what this knowledge is. And therefore they are striving. But yatatāmapi siddhānam kaschit, even among those who are striving, very, very rare few, kaschit mam veti tattvataha, very, very rare few know me as I am. Tattvataha means as I am. Even among thousands who are striving, of course they are very rare. Even among those who are striving, very rare few reach me. They know me completely in reality. Why is it so? It can be due to various reasons. There are very many so-called spiritual people, you think they are spiritual, but they are not spiritual. Why so? Because there is no clarity. This is number one. What is it they are striving for? They don't know. They have some vague idea and they appear to be very spiritual. So the first and the foremost thing to be kept in mind is clarity in thinking. Many times people don't have this. So that is why we find varieties of so-called spiritual people. They do varieties of sadhanas. It may be japa, it may be tapa, various kinds of austerities. You ask these spiritual people, why are you doing it? They have some worldly goals in mind. They have no clarity, right? Sometimes you have clarity, but you are not putting forth sufficient effort. Therefore you may fail. And there are some others whose faith is not strong enough. Therefore they may fail. Or sometimes it may also happen that worldly temptations are so strong that they get diverted. There are various kinds of reasons why a spiritual person may not reach the ultimate truth. But then what is the solution? The solution is the same thing. The first sloka, the 3 points. Maya saktamanaha, yogam yunjan, madashraya. This is the solution. Any person who is fulfilling these 3 conditions will definitely attain him. There is no doubt about it. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hare Om.